And that scene, you look at that, and it's scary. It's interesting. What a fascinating character. He's a real guy. Another true life story you're doing here actually happened.
Yeah, Greville Wynn. He was a near illiterate salesman, but with the gift of the gab, he was making a pretty decent stab of a career and living a pretty middle class life. He married up. He was from a very lowly Welsh family, but very socially mobile mum who was wanting the better for him, and married up, like I said. And yeah, you meet him in the middle of his life. He's coasting. He's got a son. He's got a wife. He struggled a little bit in their relationship. He struggled a little bit in his life, but everything's comfortable. And suddenly he gets approached by someone he knows through his work to take his work into Eastern Europe and then into Russia, and then becomes a courier for the highest-ranking Soviet official to turn whistleblower during the Cuban Missile Crisis, Oleg Penkovsky. So he suddenly is taking this highly important documentation from Oleg, microfilm, all sorts of things that are coming from the Kremlin and the military that basically give MI6 and CIA the know-how to counter Khrushchev's moves in that critical game of chess where the world was holding their breath. I can hardly get through this without thinking about what's going on at the moment. It's pretty awful. But we should talk about that. But it was an amazing film to do. And even then, you know, North Korea were lobbing missiles around as we were filming. And, you know, there's more nuclear proliferation now than there was at the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis. And there are more rogue states with nuclear weapons. And it is a very relevant film. And for me, the heroism of this man with flaws was that he was an ordinary man who was asked to do something extraordinary and did it. He needed persuading. He needed to be made to believe that he could do it. And in a way, he was the perfect foil because he was so unexpected. And yet he was somebody who helped bring about the intelligence that the United States could then level at the Soviet Union, in the very famous scene in the UN where the spy camera footage of those missiles that were going to be transported on the boats was shown, and it was then known what type of missiles they were going to be. And anyway, it was the whole reasoning behind how that was exposed and faced off that resulted in the Cuban Missile Crisis coming to a conclusion.
It's a riveting movie. It's a real thriller too. You know, it's like Spy Who Came In From the Cold, and those kind of great classic films. And
shot by Sean, who shot 12 Years a Slave, Sean Bobbitt, and Dominic Cook, who's a fantastic director. Yeah,
really good. And we looked at a clip before of The Imitation Game, which was your first Oscar nomination. A great movie. It was also nominated for Best Picture. You've been a number of those. You really know how to pick them. And you know, written by Graham Moore. I just saw this new film, The Outfit, which is so good. Great script that he won an Oscar for. Alan Turing, that was a heroic role.
Yeah, another quiet man who did an extraordinary thing and was utterly vilified for his sexuality. And you know, there are those strange moments. And I had another one with Louis Wayne actually, where there just comes points in the Turing film. It was when he is visited when he's just been chemically castrated, and I couldn't stop crying. I mean, he was supposed to be emotionally very vulnerable in that scene anyway, because of the hormones coursing through his body and the shame and everything else that he didn't want Joan to see, and his breakdown. But it was really about, and the same with Louis Wayne on the passenger ship back from the US, when he has a breakdown in our film of his life. And it's suddenly seeing the character from the point of view just as an audience would, just not inhabiting it, but just feeling terrible empathy for the pain that these people were going through, and the lack of ability to be able to deal with that. How lonely that feeling must have been. And it's weird, it's sort of like a form of grief for that character. And I felt incredibly close to Turing through the making of that film. I really did. And it's
really
just drawn
to real life people. in a lot of ways. You played so many. I mean,
Yeah,
look,
a few.
Dominic Cummings in Brexit, if you didn't see Brexit.
I wasn't so drawn to him, but yes, I was interested by him.
He was Leave. He was and
Whether
you
he was
were
Leave,
Remain.
Remain, or in the middle, it's him. But he was a person that at the time was very unknown. And James Graham's an extraordinary writer who can kind of, to quote Hamilton, put you in the room where it happens. And he did, you know. And it was exposing the kind of corridors of power and the back channels, and this Svengali at the center of it all, who realized how to monopolize on basically garnering a lot of ill content and siphoning it into one political cause. And it's, I mean, you know, I have my opinions about that. I'm not going to bore the world with it again, but I think it's unleashed, hell, you know.
Yeah, it's cool. And Thomas Edison in The Current War, Billy Bulger in Black Mass, Julian Assange in Fifth Estate, Stephen Hawking, obviously, we've talked about that. There's a certain responsibility that goes with playing those kinds of roles.
I guess so, but then again, there is for the icons of Sherlock Holmes and Strange. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, of course, if they're living, if their family are going to be watching you. I mean, Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Langley that I played in a docudrama of Dunkirk, and I remember his family sitting behind me in the BAFTA screening of it, and meeting them was just one of the greatest privileges of my life, and being so frightened about what they thought of my portrayal in that brief moment of his extraordinary, heroic life. Yes, it comes with an added kind of weight, I suppose, but you are servicing the drama, you're a storyteller, and you have to take a certain amount of artistic license, and you have to be forgiven a little bit for that, and most people who are getting into that as the real people or the relatives of understand that. But at the same time, you're carrying that person and their actions and image into the world, and it's a very firm kind of imprint to leave an impression of, and so yeah, it does carry some responsibility. But weirdly, you trust all the people behind you as well. It's not just you up there. It's the scenic designer, it's the costume designer, it's the makeup artist, it's the researcher, it's the director, it's the producer, it's the writer. It's so many people that make a body of work that an actor is the kind of vessel for. So, you know, it's not like you're the only one doing the tightrope walk. You feel very supported.